I believe that, of course, stating the obvious, powerful people run the world. I believe that powerful people try their very best to inflict their worldview and their goals and desires on the general populace. I think an easy way to think of it is that if you had a company, let's say you had a small company with 4 to 5 employees, you wouldn't hire any employee that didn't agree with you or didn't listen to you or didn't think like you. If you said, I want you to do this, and they said no, then you'd fire them, right? So if you could extrapolate that out and make it much larger and understand that these people have companies with millions of people or they own countries, they want people to comply. And the reason people have to comply with them is because these people own all the important resource, they own all the important land, they print the money, they own the media, they own the information, and they want to make sure that everybody agrees with them and complies with them. So they have tried very hard to damage the human psyche to the point where we are now completely empty and open for all forms of slave programming. They tried to convince us to ignore our own eyes and our own ears. They convince you to look at somebody and not be sure what gender they are, or to look around you and pretend you're in a pandemic when everything is fine. They convince you that your own brain is the enemy and that you must just only consume what you are told, because once they do that, once they can convince you to do something as crazy as ignore your own eyes, then they can simply slot in any USB stick of slave programming at random, whatever they want you to currently believe. Whether it's to believe this particular war is a good idea, or staying in your house and destroying your own business is a good idea, or gassing X amount of the population because they're a different religion is a good idea. That's how it works. So the people who are in charge of the world, whatever they want to do, they want to make sure everybody complies and listens to them, which is normal human nature. I'm not going to say that I'm any better than these people. I have 100 people who work for me and I want them all to listen. So that's what happens when you get that big. And yeah, they don't want anybody's morals or religion or point of view standing in the way. They just want you to comply. I do have a lot of things happening behind the scenes. However, and perhaps I'm becoming optimistic in my old age, but I believe that in due course, the social media companies will realize the mistake they made. I think that, and like I said, I don't have intimate knowledge of the workings of social media companies, but assuming they are semi-professional to any regard, and that is a big assumption, but let's assume they're professional. That means that when they ban somebody like me, especially the most Google search person on the planet, they must have teams which are analyzing in real time the response to said action, right? Mm-hmm. They should have people sitting there on the ground analyzing. Now they attacked me with their media machine because first they shut you up so they can lie about you. So they shut me up, then they did the massive media push to try and attempt to lie about me. But despite that, the majority of comments regarding me are still positive. The majority of people believe and understand that this ban is unfair. And if these companies have any degree of professionalism, they're analyzing this in real time and they're understanding that this makes us look very bad. People didn't believe the lie. People didn't believe what we attempted to smear this man with. Nobody's buying this narrative. And this is going to have a negative effect on us for a very, very long time, because when you're in charge of the world, which they are, as soon as you're no longer seen as just and fair, you're seen as tyrannical. And once you're seen as tyrannical, then there's going to be some kind of mass movement against you. So if I was a social media executive, I would sit and I would analyze the data and I would say, listen, guys, we will have a monopoly. We want to retain our monopoly. Let's be smart here. Being known as tyrannical amongst the public consciousness across the entire planet is going to make it very difficult for us to hold our monopoly for a longer period of time, as opposed to being seen to be fair. Even if we're biased, we must be seen as fair.
Sure.
As soon as we're seen as tyrannical, right, that's when the revolution. Look at Ceausescu. As soon as you're a tyrant, that's when everyone hits the streets.
Yep.
So I think that if they have any kind of serious data monitoring, and if they have any kind of serious business professionalism, they are now talking in dark rooms, understanding that this has played out very badly for them. And if they intend on keeping their monopoly into the future, that they need to change something. Maybe I'm being optimistic.
Who was the first one to take you off?
Meta.
Meta was first. So
Meta.
Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook, Insta, bam.
Okay. And then it was a domino effect.
Yeah, so Meta took me down. So it's quite interesting, actually. I had a YouTube channel for a while. It was never so large. I had 738,000 subscribers. It took me a long time to build it up. I got a strike on YouTube, which prevented me from posting. It's got a strike, no big deal. The next day, Meta took me down, deleted my Facebook and my Instagram. The press came out at exactly the same time in sync, saying that I'm a misogynistic, dangerous person, that I'm harmful, that I am the reason that the world is not a perfect place, world hunger, you name it, all my fault. attacked me across all of this, and I thought, okay, let me film a message that I can get out on my YouTube, my final message, which I don't know if you guys have seen, I ended up putting on freetopg.com. Let me film my final message explaining how this is unfair and unjust. We filmed it, we produced it, we got it all edited within 12 hours, head to toe ready to go, but we couldn't post it because of the YouTube strike. So we're waiting for the YouTube strike to expire. A few hours before the YouTube strike expires, guess what happens? They banned me from YouTube. Then they banned me from Discord. Then they banned me from Airbnb. They banned me from Stripe. I can't even remember.
Airbnb?
It was just emails coming in faster than you could believe. Ban.
So it wasn't just the socials.
Oh, no, the Matrix presses a button, my friend.
Yeah.
And every app on your phone stops working. Uber. You name it. Uber.
Stop.
You name it.
Wait, you can't use Uber?
Well, I can use Uber. You just start a new account, right? But
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Uber. Catch me. But
But
yeah,
your main account on Uber was taken.
they take everything.
Everything. Coordinated effort all at once.
Coordinated effort all at once. Every single one of them just goes no. Delete, and they come at you and they come at you with everything.
And
Banking,
Stripe.
banks,
Payment processing.
oh, and banks. UK-based banks as well. High Street banks. I can name Santander, HSBC, Barclays, etc. All at the same
Massive
time.
banks.
Oh no, sorry, to change. We've decided because blah blah, some bullshit, some letter, close your accounts. So they take all your banking, they take your payment processing, they take all your social media presence, they take your Discord, they take your Skype, they take all your accounts, your ability to communicate with people, and then they lie about you in the press. And they leave you there. they leave you there to suffer. I understand that you get 3 strikes in this game. Strike 1 is they try and shut you up and discredit you, which I've just been through. Strike 2 is they try and put you in jail for no reason. And strike 3 is they kill you. And one of my strikes is now gone. And I now firmly believe that they're going to try and kill me because they want me to be quiet and I'm not being quiet. And I have huge amounts of influence, which is what they're scared of. Because influence is what the world is about, right? If you send soldiers to a country to die, if you have literally a pitched battle on any country on the planet with tanks and planes and people are dying, that's only to control the ground so you can influence it. Like all of that is for influence. The media is for influence. What they tell people to believe, the mindsets they want you to adopt is so they can influence you. So when somebody like me comes along who has a mass amount of influence and is going in a direction they're contrary to, they sit and go, wow, this is a big problem from one person. And people have car accidents, people get robbed, people get shot. And that's the unfortunate reality of human nature. When you are a very large problem for very powerful people, they look for quick solutions, and the easiest solution is to kill me. And I think it's going to get there if I'm not extremely careful. So yeah, they dislike me not just because of what I say, because everybody knows what I say is true, but because of the huge amount of influence I have, and also the influence I have over the one demographic they're most fearful of, which are the young military-age males. They're the demographic that they need to keep under control the most, because those are the ones who will lead a revolution. Those are the ones who are naturally rebellious. Those are the ones you need to fight in your armies. Those are the ones you need to be the backbone of the slave force and build the roads for a shit wage. Those are the ones you need to sit in a sexless marriage and raise kids while they're depressed and turn up and pay their taxes anyway. That demographic is the backbone of the economy, of the defense of a nation. They're the #1 enemy to the state if they decide to get in a big group together. Like, I don't want to be misogynistic, I've been accused of it enough, but if 100,000 women get in one place and complain, it's inconvenient. If 100,000 men get in one place and complain, it's a revolution. So they're scared of men free thinking, and they're scared of young men free thinking, and my fans are young military-age males, and I teach them to free think. So they look at me and they literally see me as a threat to the world, and that's why I think they're going to try and kill me.
So you said you now have to be careful, so what are you changing about what you're doing to not get killed?
I'm as perspicacious as I can be.
What does that mean?
Perspicacious is the ability to perceive, perceptive.
Right. Yeah.
I'm as perspicacious as I can be, but I'm also very understanding that if they want me, they're going to get me. It's an unfortunate reality. It's very easy to kill people, especially at their level, right? If they want me, they're going to get me. All I'm doing is trying to stay true to myself, stay true to God, because I truly believe this is a battle of good versus evil, and say the things I know need to be said in a way which is respectful enough and important enough so that the powers that be decide that it's okay if I stay alive. But if they decide the opposite, then there's very little I can do about it. And of course, I have a 10-man security team, everyone's armed, I carry a weapon, et cetera, et cetera. But if they want you, they're gonna get you, that's the game. So it's kind of, people often say to me, well then Andrew, why do you do this? Why do you talk? And I really believe we're living in a pivotal point in history. As AI gets better, as technology gets better, as they get more and more control over the money and the way people think and the way people move, I think that absolute slavery and tyranny is coming to the entire world. I think our children's children will live as slaves. I think the idea of social mobility will be absolutely and utterly destroyed. You're going to be born into a class and that's where you're going to belong and stay. If you say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, you're going to be punished for it. And I think this is one of our last chances to fight. And I think it's a battle of good versus evil. It's genuinely God against the demons. And I know that I'm on the side of God and I'm a strictly religious person. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't talk. And if God decides that I have to be martyred for that, then that's his decision. So I certainly have legal options being explored. And I don't want to say too much on the podcast, but legal options are certainly being explored. We'll see how things progress across the next few weeks. But I have a very strong suspicion I will end up back on the media platforms, or they will offer them back to me. The question now at this point is if I even want them, which is a unique question, because a lot of people still believe that you can only have a significant presence in the world with these social media platforms. That's the source of their power. I believe there's huge pressure behind the dam in regards to the fact that everybody understands that these places are tyrannical and that they control ideas and that they force narratives. And I use my wording as the Matrix. I call them the Matrix. And people say to me, why do you call them the Matrix? And I say, because they project a false version of reality in real time that people subscribe to. If there wasn't an absolute blacklist on all opposing views during COVID-19, that bullshit would never have gone on for as long as it did. It went on for as long as it did, and they managed to purport a false version of reality for so long because you couldn't discuss the opposing side. We just talked about our friend here who got banned for saying something very sensible and logical. So when you get huge media companies that can literally alter in reality in real time by deleting the other side of an argument, they're creating a matrix, is what I like to call it. So I call them the source of the matrix. So people understand this and there's huge pressure behind the dam, but the problem is people say, well, what's the alternative? And I think if someone could pave the way and put a crack in the dam by maintaining massive relevancy despite of a ban, and still having a social media platform and presence which is respected on other platforms, I think it's gonna do them significant damage. I think the pressure and the crack together is gonna create something monumental. And already I've moved to Rumble. I only had 738,000 subscribers on my YouTube after 5 years of work. Post-ban, I moved to Rumble, which is a YouTube competitor. Stock price has gone up 36%, and I'm at 500,000 subscribers in 2 weeks. So I'm about to surpass the size of my YouTube channel within a month. YouTube stock's down, Rumble stock's massively up. So all in all, there's other avenues, but we'll see. I certainly agree with you that what they've done to me is massively unfair. They know it's unfair. I think the reason they didn't send me any email or any confirmation of what I did wrong is because they knew they were gonna end up in court, and they didn't want to be tied down to their reason. They want to stay fluid and try and make up a reason on the day. I've heard from very reliable sources that their terms of service have changed significantly post my ban. They've made up new reasons. Post ban, they've made up a bunch of new shit. So it's going to be interesting, but certainly, yeah, there has to be legal ramifications for what they've done. I don't take it personally, but I do take it professionally. And you're right, they were wrong. I have no reason to be banned. My Instagram is just cars. Like, it's just cars and a little bit of flexing. There's no politics. There's not even any points of view. I had no strikes. Nothing. It's just a hit piece. So
if there were betting odds, like if we did a poll, why do you think Andrew Tate was banned from all the social media platforms? And it was misogyny, right? You know, COVID stuff, against the government, against system. If you were a betting man, where would you kind of place the odds?
Oh, I already know. Everybody already knows I was banned because I talked against the Matrix. They
just
know
the system in general.
The system in general, yeah. I mean, someone compared me to Socrates, which is a compliment, but he was vilified. He ended up poisoning himself in Athens. The charge against him was corrupting the youth. If you read about his poisoning and his arrest, they said he was corrupting the youth, but he wasn't corrupting them. He was inspiring them to challenge authority. He was inspiring them to think for themselves. When they were told something, instead of blindly complying, he said, look, analyze who these people are who are telling you to do X. And I even had a tweet I put out on I've been banned on Twitter forever. So I've been through 20 Twitter bans. I come back as undercover, whatever. But
I've been saying I said often, if you have a point of view that you are very strong in your adherence to, if you truly believe something, you need to sit and analyze whether it's your own personal experience that makes you believe something, or if someone else or something else has convinced you of this. And if they have, you need to then once again analyze that point of view and analyze who these people are and what they want from you. Do they truly want the best of you? If the news convinces you of something to the point where you're going to argue with your own family members at a dinner table, does the news really care about you more than your family? This is a genuine question. You need to analyze every belief you hold, where it came from, and then analyze what their intentions are. And if you start to do that, you look at something like COVID, for example, it's an easy one. You look at all the bullshit they were saying, and you sit here and go, wait, these people don't care about me. If I had diabetes or I needed insulin, or if I had cancer, or if I got in a car crash, anything, they'd be hitting me with medical bills I could never possibly afford. They'd let me die. But they are insisting I take this shot for free, on repeat. This doesn't make sense. And when you encourage people to think for themselves, especially the youth, that's what Socrates got accused of. He's corrupting the youth. And to be honest with you, a huge portion of my fan base were 18 to 23, 24-year-old males. When you have the youth, the masculine youth of the world, thinking for themselves, that's pretty scary to authority. Because it's the masculine youth of the world that is, one, the revolutionaries, and two, also, that's the backbone of the slave force. If you need people to go die in a ditch in Afghanistan, you need them. If you need people to work bullshit jobs in a coal mine with no health care, you need them. If you need people to blindly comply to bullshit, you need them more than anybody, more than you need the feminists and the liberals. You need the real men to go out there and comply with the bullshit, to live a shitty existence, to purport and prop up a system.
The warrior class.
The warrior class, right? And if enough of these men stand in one place and say, this is enough, that's when a revolution happens. So this is the most dangerous group of the demographic that the Matrix and the people are trying to control, and they have to have a narrative over, and that's why they're trying to weaken them in every regard. And when I'm sitting there saying, don't listen to the bullshit, become physically strong, think for yourself, prioritize your brotherhood above what the fucking Matrix is telling you, do not blindly comply, resist the slave mind, all these things I'm saying, they just sat there one day and said, wait, the most popular person on the planet is saying, don't listen to our bullshit. Delete.